Coming up in today's video, we're going to take a look at some huge news surrounding AEW, Warner Bros. Discovery, Netflix, and Paramount, because there's a massive update. This could very much change things. Also, in addition to that, Undertaker has a major WWE tease, and we are going to talk about TNA stars and their morale with TNA. And in general, it sounds like they're a little bit upset with the creative of the company. This is all coming up right here on The Ango Show. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell. I want to actually kick things off today talking about TNA. Obviously, some very good news surrounding TNA and coming to AMC Network, and this has obviously been a relatively big topic, and it's a very big, remarkable achievement for this company, something that I've been super ecstatic about. Maybe this is the first time you've ever watched my channel. I'm a long time TNA fan, and with that, you know, it does... As a content creator, I have the responsibility to be fair in all of my analysis. And the thing is, I love TNA, and I think for a very long time, TNA creatively was sound. It was very good. And recently, I feel like there has been more times where I've kind of questioned some of the booking decisions they've made. And of course, you know, you guys have to be fair and you have to let things play out. But I don't think it changes the fact that sometimes I could even be critical of the creative team and maybe some of the things that they're doing. Well, during a recent Q&A with Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp actually came out and said that creative is a primary thing in which talent actually want fixed within TNA. They don't feel as much confidence in their creative. Sean even says, this is not me picking on TNA. It's just the very common reaction I get when I'm asked about the TV deal. I wasn't even fishing for anything like that. It was presented without instigation, so to speak. So TNA stars internally have maybe voiced their concern about TNA creative. I know Matt Hardy has publicly talked about how TNA should not be focusing on 5-star matches, but rather more focus on the stories. And obviously I agree with that. If you guys know how I view wrestling, I am very much into the realm of stories matter more than anything. And I do think for TNA, you know, right now, Delirious and Tommy Dreamer seem to be the ones most responsible for creative. Obviously, all of this falls on Carlos Silva because he is the president of the company. But I do think there are certain areas where maybe TNA could be a little bit better creatively. And I don't know. Obviously, like I'm expecting some sort of change, obviously, with them going on AMC. But I don't know if TNA is in a position right now where they are going to thrive based on their creativity. I really don't know if they're going to thrive based on what we're seeing right now. And this is not a dagger at TNA, but like watching Stax over the weekend beat Steve Macklin for the International Championship, to me, that is just a little bit of a head scratcher. And I don't hate Stax, but I'm a big Steve Macklin fan, and this is a former world champion. Why is he losing the International Championship? Okay, clearly there's going to be some sort of storyline where maybe TNA will win it back. And that's important for me as a fan that TNA will eventually win it back. But that's kind of the thing where it's like, was it really worth the change? I don't know. But the good thing for TNA is ticket sales are doing great. You know, they're going to be on AMC. We're going to see what their viewership looks like. They do a good job with this partnership with WWE. I just think there's certain decisions that they make that could be detrimental to them. I would like to see that improved. And I think TNA could very well improve on this. I think TNA very well does have a pulse on things. So I would fully expect that to change at some point. But it is something definitely important to mention on this channel, because if TNA stars are not happy with the creative, then that's a big thing. I think right now, overwhelmingly too, let's just be real, I think WWE and AEW and TNA creatively are kind of struggling. I think every wrestling company right now is struggling just to a certain extent. I think NXT has been the one to really just be consistent and keep people engaged. I think WWE's main roster shows, I think, is hit or miss. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And I think the same thing applies to AEW. So for me personally, I would like to see creative improved everywhere, not just TNA. But of course, TNA right now going to AMC Network, it is a big deal. You want that to be fixed prior to your new TV deal starting. And that's obviously very, very important to mention. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. The Undertaker has been very cryptic on social media, which, by the way, kind of sounds funny to even think about Undertaker using social media. Undertaker has a podcast. Undertaker, very much breaking kayfabe to a certain extent. But of course, there's been a lot of conversation about The Undertaker because he is teasing something, and we don't really know what he's teasing. He actually put out a tweet that said, "Hey, tomorrow's arrival may seem ordinary, yet its unveiling is phenomenal." A lot of people thought this was kind of interesting because throughout the last few days on Twitter, he's posting different images and different tweets. And then obviously that was the one with the caption. A lot of people are speculating maybe this has something to do with AJ Styles. Obviously AJ Styles was technically the one who retired The Undertaker in the Boneyard match, WrestleMania 36. It was that cinematic match that they had. Then, the thing that's very interesting, and I don't know if people are kind of getting this, because obviously The Undertaker right now, there's no confirmation he's going to be on Raw. I don't know really what the connection would be to AJ Styles. I mean, AJ Styles right now is doing stuff with Dragon Lee. I don't know what the purpose of that would be. Obviously, The Undertaker is involved with WWE LFG, which actually led me to think maybe even Shiloh Hill, because Shiloh Hill is set to make his NXT debut this week. So I was actually under the impression that maybe The Undertaker's major tease has everything to do with Shiloh Hill. This could be a really good thing if it has connection to Shiloh Hill, because this kid, I think, is going to have an amazing future with WWE. I think Shiloh Hill is going to have an absolutely amazing future with this company. There's something about his gimmick, the way that he works, the way that he talks. There's something very intriguing about him, and I'm very curious if that's maybe some sort of connection to The Undertaker. Obviously, Undertaker was his coach for WWE LFG. These are things that I'm just being considerate of. But The Undertaker has some major teases. These are some massive, massive things. The Undertaker is still a very big deal. You have to wonder what that's going to be. You just have to. And I like teases. I like when things are cryptic. I like when things of that nature are done. What I don't like per se, though, is when in professional wrestling, things are being teased and then nothing comes out of it. And that is something I'm incredibly critical of. And I will continue to be critical of that. If you're going to tease things, if you're going to have these major things and these cryptic things, I'm good with it. But I'm not good at all whatsoever with teases that don't amount to anything. So that is just something to very much figure out eventually, and we'll see what happens. And that brings us to our final topic of today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Khan is being put in a very, very awkward position because there was some massive news surrounding Paramount. Now, to refresh everybody's memory, Netflix was the one who apparently won the bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. There's been a lot of questions, a lot of speculation regarding Netflix and their intentions with purchasing Warner Bros. Discovery. There's been a lot of weird stuff surrounding this story. I mean, truth be told, this is a thing where I have been very adamant about it, probably not even going through. Now, what's really crazy is Netflix, they claimed their victory. They had an $82.7 billion deal for Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, according to Reuters, they've come out and said that Paramount Skydance has dropped a hostile $108 billion counteroffer in a last-ditch move to block Netflix from finalizing its deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. So the initial deal is 80-something billion. Paramount is now offering $108 billion. Now, this is where things get really chaotic because Paramount wants to own absolutely everything. Netflix doesn't want the TV portion. Warner Bros. Discovery does. And when the dust settles, nobody knows what's actually going to happen here. This is a very, very, very timely process. The government, the regulators, they have to approve it. We don't even know if they will. Especially here in America, there is no way to know if Trump and the government will allow for any of these companies to buy it. Obviously, there is a connection between Paramount and the White House currently. So a lot of people think that maybe they would get approval, but maybe Netflix won't. The big argument is monopoly, and obviously Netflix is like the biggest streaming company, and that's a big part of it. David Ellison, who is the Paramount CEO, he says that basically he's like accusing Warner Brothers Discovery for abandoning a fair bidding process, which that's obviously a very big thing to say. Nobody really knows what's going to happen, but for Paramount, there's a chance that they can own all of Warner Bros. Discovery, including the TV networks. Now, it makes sense as to why Paramount would want to own maybe the news channels. It would make sense as to why Paramount would want to own, the film studios and the intellectual properties. But of course, if they were to buy this and if they were to go through, that means AEW would be on Paramount. Now, so the real question for Paramount and AEW really becomes, well, one, does Paramount keep AEW when the time comes? Or will David Ellison and his family and everybody, with their connections to TKO, would they say, hey, like, we're going to keep AEW, or hey, we're going to get rid of AEW? I don't know. But to me, this is very shaky for Tony Khan. Tony Khan is actually, bless this man, he's going to need support, because no matter how you look at it, it just seems like everybody's taking away from him. That's what this feels like. Everybody's taken away from him. His options won't be that many. He won't have that many options after this. And that's what gets really hard. Like, if he stays on Paramount, that would be amazing. If he doesn't, that would suck. If he goes to Netflix and stays on Netflix, that would be amazing. But if he doesn't get to, that would suck. This guy is put in an impossible situation. And the truth is, when you're put in a impossible situation like this, you are definitely screwed over, because you don't know what kind of TV deal lays on the other side. And the argument is that Tony Khan, his ratings have dropped. So the argument isn't, hey, we are the fastest growing wrestling TV show, right? They don't have that argument. When they go for their TV deal next time, the conversation is, we're the fastest growing wrestling company. We're doing this, right? People are going to see the numbers are public. They have gone down. And because they have gone down, that's an issue. And I think that is going to be somewhat of a challenge for Tony Khan. I have belief that AEW and Tony Khan will be fine. I don't think the road to get there will be as smooth. But that's not on Tony Khan. That's going to be on Netflix and Warner Bros. And Paramount and whatever happens there. Which, by the way, at this point, my 2 cents is that I don't believe that this merger, this deal, this acquisition, I don't think it's going to finish up in a year. I think this is going to take a long time, and then we'll start to see what's going on. Then we'll start to see the effects of it. So for now, Tony Khan's fine. I do worry a little bit after the fact what would happen, but this is a very, very interesting process. A lot of interesting news. Warner Bros. Discovery, their sale is going to be listen, $100 billion deal is insanity to think about. And that could be problematic, and that's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to be a lot of time consumption, and we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.